Hi guys, welcome back to episode 3 of the C-Twin. Where we left off on the last one, we were talking a little bit about that Astrovan engine cover. So we're going to show you how we did a little bit of grafting on that, and the fact that we cut out the factory firewall on the Astrovan to be able to graft it into this firewall. Made our jobs a little bit easier. I'm trying to do that. Instead of having to try to create our own lip and an attachment point, so we just cut it all out and then welded it right into our existing floor and firewall. Allowed us to give us some strength back in there too before we cut the stock firewall back out. So we basically just took the surround, laid it in place, tack welded it, installed the fiberglass cover, make sure that the seal was good, and then we just started making some templates and just slowly built the structure back around that factory Astrovan piece. So again, I'm certainly not a sheet metal guy, but I just took it one piece at a time, tack welded it all in, got up to the point to where the toe boards were, and basically stopped there. We have a plan there for the toe boards. But once some of it was tacked in, just took a plasma cutter and cut some of the excess pieces off in the tunnel. It helped clean up some of the slag there, and then we just ground it back before we finished welded. But the Astrovan cover is easily removable, so should we actually have to maintain this thing. So the stock firewall was, well, one, ugly, had a lot of holes and dimples in it that we didn't care for, so we wanted to take it out. But we also wanted to move it back a little bit. But in order to do that, we had to first mock up the wheel and tires to make sure that moving the toe boards down a little bit was not going to interfere with the tires as you run through turning radius. And here's a little glimpse of where the factory toe board and firewall and floor meet. So we basically wanted the gas pedal to be at about that same angle, so we needed to be able to lay that down. We moved the toe boards down, moved the firewall back, giving us a little bit more leg room, of course. I basically just made a couple measurements, marked up some of the bracing inside the firewall, inside the toe board, and basically just went to town with the plasma cutter. Basically we're just going to lay it down up against the frame, so we just need to do a little bit of a pie cut on the bracing, and then just do basically 2 straight cuts, one horizontal, one vertical, and that allowed us to basically just free up where we could place it. We weren't exactly sure how much we could get away with yet because we hadn't set caster and put a 28-inch tall tire on it yet. But this was going to be a good starting point to just push it down, see how much we can get away with until we had a chance to cut more of the firewall out. Now, it was a little bit messy. There's quite a bit of seam sealer inside, so there was a few fires here and there. But this allowed us to push that toe board down and gain that extra foot space. So now the gas pedal could be again up at where the angle of the factory setting was, but now we've got enough room to actually articulate the pedal down further. But grafting it onto the firewall, we basically cut out the drip rail on the cowl area. So that allowed us to move the firewall back about 1 inch, which is deceiving now too with the engine back as far as it is. It makes it look like the engine's not back as far as it was. So basically just again got out the plasma cutter, Just made a straight cut across both rain gutters there. You know, sealing, it's going to be an issue we'll just deal with later. We'll probably seal it up in the cowl area instead, so that way we don't have to worry about it dripping down inside the engine compartment. But the plasma cutter made quick work of most of that. So again, we just kind of had the Astrovan cover tacked into place just to kind of hold everything straight and give us plenty of room to be able to build a new firewall and clean all that up. So here it is with both of them cut out, just wide open, ready for a new face panel. But we basically just took a paper template and you know, mocked it up to where the new Astrovan engine cover was. So just started with taping it on place, took an X-Acto knife, trimmed the edges, and then just did the cutout for the Astrovan cover. We basically just wanted it straight, smooth, and then where it attaches to the toe boards, it'll just be a vertical piece there. So that way once it was pushed into place, all we had to do was just trim the toe boards back. But this was after making sure that we had plenty of tire clearance. And did a little bead rolling on it. You know, just put a real simple design on it. Just kind of followed the outside edge by about 3 inches and then just put a little crosshatch in there. Pretty straightforward design, nothing major. So this was my first time using a bead roller. I actually really enjoyed doing this. It was quite a bit of fun. Real simple design again. Just basically just follow the 3-inch pattern around the outside radius and then just put a straight little, you know, diagonal mark in there. I ended up cutting it into 2 pieces. It made forming it in the middle a little bit simpler. But this would allow us to add a couple of rosettes. So we basically ended up drilling some holes in the outside edge and did some rosette welds to hold it inside and out. And some of the inside pieces would allow us to get some welds in there as well. So it's very solid now. This firewall would be much stronger than what the factory one was. And of course look much cleaner. We don't plan on adding anything back into the firewall at all. The Wilwood master cylinder will be inside. It's a reverse mount. So the firewall will be very clean. Alright, so we were kind of getting in over our heads with some of the sheet metal work. I guess boredom is the key there. So we ended up just cutting the drip rails off. It was kind of on a whim. I had searched around a little bit on YouTube and saw that other guys had done it and looked pretty straightforward. So grabbed the Sawzall and went to town. Of course there were some side effects there. You know, there were some areas that the gaps are a little bit larger than what should be expected, and aesthetically wise there's some areas too that it leaves a little bit to be desired. So, you know, basically it kind of morphed into, okay, how do we get to the back side of where we're welding the seam together? So next thing you know, we're cutting the inside shell out of the interior. This actually had an added benefit that we weren't expecting. So we got it all cut out, weighed it, and it was about 30 pounds worth of steel at the highest point of the truck. So that certainly will help with handling and just overall weight distribution. Well, we deliberated a little bit on where we were going to place the batteries, the compressors, the tanks. We were trying to put as much of those items on the passenger side of the truck as we could to help offset the weight of the driver. Packaging wise, it just didn't work out that way, so we ended up just running separate sides. So driver and passenger side have equal amounts, compressor tank and battery. So we basically fabbed up some quick little battery mounts for it. We've got a press brake here and our own plasma. So just basically made a simple little design to mount those Optima batteries in it. The compressors were just simple little tabs, and the tank's the same thing. Just tap the side of the frame and mounted those in there. All of this is going to be underneath the bed and very near to the turbos. So we're trying to keep the hot side of the turbos on the inside of the frame, cold side on the outside. There will be a divider there to help separate some of that air. So the exhaust side is going to be pointing towards each other at the middle of the chassis. We'll be mounting the Magnaflow mufflers in the full exhaust here very soon. A couple little teasers here. Basically just got it up to about where the axle is going to be, but it'll be all 3.5 inch. The wastegate side will be 2 inch. We'll keep that all separate. The main turbine side will be muffled. The wastegate side will not. So that way when it comes on boost, the wastegate opens, the tone will change. So we're going to try to keep those two items separate as it goes out the back. Yeah, it'll get a little bit louder when it comes on boost, but we hope that that note change will make it worthwhile. All right, so we've worked closely with Doug's headers over the years, and they private label some of our headers. So, you know, they wanted to be involved with this. So we took the truck down to their facility in Irwindale, and they took out some off-the-shelf Shorty headers for us. Made installation a little bit easier. Because the engine's so far back, we couldn't really run a long tube header in there without having to have major surgery to get them back out. So we basically just ran a Shorty 1 3/4 header into a 3 inch primary that necks down to 2.5 inch, and then it's 2.5 inch all the way to the turbine inlets. Well, the roll pan on this thing has been kind of on a hiatus right now. We cut the tailgate, we took 6 inches out of it, sectioned it. We basically moved the roll pan up to match the bottom of the tailgate now. Again, the hope is to have when the tailgate opens that the floor is still level, the bed floor is still level with the tailgate instead of having that step down. It also removes some weight, but we want to be able to get the air at the back of the truck to exit as efficiently as possible. So by raising the roll pan up, we ended up sectioning it into 3 pieces. The section that's in the middle where the license plate and what the hitch is going to be, it's as wide as the outside of the frame rails. So we basically cut the roll pan right there, and that section there is going to be down just a little bit, about 2 inches lower than the outside sections of the roll pan. This is going to allow us to, the turbulent air that's in the fender well exit as clean as possible. Again, there's going to be a belly pan, so some of that's going to be fabricated after the fact. But we wanted to make sure that when you're pulling up behind the back of the truck that you can't see the frame rails, you can't see the hitch, so the roll pan will be a little bit lower there. And the outside wings, if you will, are going to be up a little bit higher, matching the bottom of the tailgate. It is going to look a little bit weird. We've got some renderings on how we did that, and even a couple of photos of kind of mocked in place. It's different, no doubt, but in the essence of trying to keep it aerodynamic or make it aerodynamic as best we can, you know, we got to kind of give up a few things here and there, but we don't think it's going to kill the look of the truck. It's just going to make it a little bit more distinctive. So each step of the way, we've been curious how much the truck weighs, more specifically how much weight is on the back axle. So we've scaled it a number of times as we built the truck. This last go around, we had, of course, the most weight that we've had in it to date. Still missing quite a bit of stuff, but we keep trying to put as much weight in the back of the truck as possible. As you can see, it's 2,300 pounds as it sits right now. We're still missing the hood, the engine internals, a drive shaft, third member, you know, all the glass, most of the interior, radiator, intercooler, grill. So I mean, there's certainly going to be another 1,000 pounds worth of stuff added back to the truck. We're hoping when it's all said and done that it is at least 50-50. We're actually hoping that it's going to be a little bit rear heavy. Again, this thing's going to make a lot of power, so we want to try to get as much traction as we can coming out of corners. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 3. We're really enjoying this build. Episode 4 is going to be coming out soon, where we're going to be talking about building that Currie fabricated 9 inch. HPS machine is going to be putting together that AFR headed 416 for us. And we might even get into if we chop the roof or not. So stay tuned.